Retro.
Are you an aspiring Jedi, or do you dabble with the dark side of the Force?
Regardless of whether you fancy yourself a defender of the light or an aspiring Sith Lord, you're going to need a lightsaber.
Podcast Stardust is pleased to partner with Saber Masters, the creators of high-quality, durable, and affordable lightsabers.
Saber Masters is preparing to launch the Ultimate Lightsaber 2.0, and right now you can get 2 for the price of 1.
So, check out the link in our show notes and go get your Ultimate Lightsabers from Saber Masters.
And don't forget to use our referral code Stardust to save $10 at checkout.
And each purchase using our referral code helps support Podcast Stardust.
This is John Jackson Miller, author of Star Wars Kenobi, Star Wars A New Dawn, Star Wars Lost Tribe of the Sith, Star Wars Knight Errant, and the upcoming Star Wars The Living Force. And you're listening to Podcast Stardust with Dennis and Jay. May the Force be with you.
Happy Monday, and welcome to Podcast Stardust. This is the fully armed and operational podcast dedicated to Star Wars news, reviews, and discussion. I'm Dennis Keithley.
No April Fools here. I'm Jay Krebs.
Oh, we really should have done an April Fool's episode.
Yeah,
Maybe we are doing an April Fool's episode. You'll have to listen to the whole thing and find out.
That's right.
Well, in the meantime, we're going to talk about some Star Wars news. But before we do that, Jay, you want to remind everybody where we can be found around the internet?
Sure thing. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Podcast Stardust.
It is the danger of recording these things in advance, isn't it? Okay. Well, the dish is aligned, the signal is boosted to maximum output, the shield is down. We are now broadcasting to the galaxy. This is the week's Star Wars news. So we were recently just talking about The Phantom Menace returning to theaters, and tickets have gone on sale. Have you got your tickets yet, Jay?
No, I haven't. I've been looking, and I know that there is a theater, the same one where I got to see Return of the Jedi, as a matter of fact, that does, in fact, have The Phantom Menace. So I need to get my date so that I know who I'm going to go with. I might just end up going by myself. I mean, even if I have to just buy 2 tickets and just go by myself and, give one away at the door. Who knows? We'll see. But do you?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I looked up, I was getting tickets to the new Godzilla King Kong movie. And while I was there, I noticed at the Alamo Drafthouse, which is my favorite movie theater, that they were showing The Phantom Menace on May the 4th weekend. So on May the 4th, I will be going to see it at the Alamo, and I'm really excited for that.
Yay. Yeah, the thing of it is for me too, is that on May 4th, I actually do have 2 events that I'm going to be appearing at as one of my cosplay characters. So that's another thing too. I need to make sure I know exactly what times those are, so that I can get my tickets around that too. And I might just end up going Sunday if it's available, which I think it is.
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be in theaters for at least a week, so you'll have an opportunity. Now, if you want to do the marathon, it's May 4th or nothing.
No, I do not.
We talked about that last time, so I can't do that. As much as I enjoy May the 4th and having a day devoted to Star Wars like that, it's a Saturday, and I got other things I have to do as well. And
amen to that.
And I love those movies, but no matter how comfortable a lounger they give you at a theater these days, it's still a lot to try and sit there for, it's going to be 18 hours. I mean, I don't know when that starts, but you're going to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't make it through that. I'd have to take a nap through one of those movies. So.
And I think we could, very comfortably do that, because it's not like we don't know what's going to happen.
Right. Well, and as much as I love Star Wars, I frequently fall asleep when I'm watching it in the miniways just because they're so comforting at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, we talked about that last time. Let's move on. And we were talking about the Acolyte trailer last week in the news, and Leslye Headland, the showrunner, is already being asked about future seasons, and nothing's been greenlit. But she did make mention in an interview with Collider that she initially pitched the show as having multiple seasons. and then if they needed to, they could make a second season pretty quickly. So there's some interesting quotes that came out in this article. She said, I would say that when I pitched it, I definitely pitched it as a multi-season show. There are a lot of things at the end of the season that I think are narrative threads that are not tied up for sure. However, I am the type of writer that is not interested in an emotional cliffhanger. I want you to feel like you've had a particular type of catharsis and an emotional experience in watching those 80 episodes because I like rewarding the audience with that. Okay, right off the bat, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I have anything against a cliffhanger, but I kind of like them hedging the bets here with this one, that there's stuff they could do with a second season if they wanted to, and there's things that they've left open, but these 8 episodes are going to tell a story, and you don't have to have a second season.
Yes, I applaud that 100%. I like me some closure. I really do. Like you. I mean, cliffhangers are fun. Like, oh my gosh, wait till next season. But then again, it's like, oh, I gotta wait till next season.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to that both ways. But I love that. I really do. I love the fact that there's a nice, tidy storytelling to be told and to be done, and that's the way she wants to do things.
Right. So she goes on to say, I still think that means you can pepper in things that are like, I want to see where that's going to go. And,
Hmm.
oh, I didn't realize that person was related to that person in this way. And I'd like to see more. But there isn't something where you feel like you're on the edge of your seat to have that catharsis. Oof, hard word to say today. And then you have to wait 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
These things take forever to make. So I would hate to make a season that didn't feel complete, even if it was still open for more story. So again, what we just said. Thank you, Leslye, for that. But she goes on to say, we can make it pretty quickly. We definitely have a timeline. I have a lot of ideas. And again, a lot of it was stuff that I had told Kathleen Kennedy early on in terms of I would like the season to go and the conflicts that I see happening specifically in the second season. But I've been working nonstop on this for a very long time. So I'm definitely taking a much needed break before we get the writer room going. So she's not promising anything there, but it does kind of sound like she's expecting to get that call to do a
Mhm.
second season. What's your take?
Yeah, I like where that's going. That's for sure. And we know, from talking last week about Leslye Headland that she is 100% fan. So
Mhm.
this is definitely a project that, as you just said, she's already thought about where a second season could go. And with the High Republic and the timeline that we're talking about here, there's so much rich storytelling availability, I feel like, in
Mhm.
this era. And so why not? And so that's very encouraging, but of course, we'll have to see. Just like with every other Star Wars project, it's always a we hope, we wish, but will it
Sure.
actually happen kind of a thing. But I think that's very encouraging.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. And to your point, there's 100 years before we know what happens next
Right. Exactly.
after this. So, we don't, we can't go into this expecting any character to make it because, oh, there's going to be season 2. They could
Uh-huh.
have all new characters, or they could have some returning characters, or whatever they want to do. There's tons of options there. So that
Right.
is the beauty of doing something like that. But so we will see what happens. And again, we're looking for June 4th for the debut of the Acolyte.
Hmm.
But that's not the only story we have. This is apparently a very anticipated show because the trailer broke the record for views for a Lucasfilm project on Disney Plus, racking up 51.3 million views in its first 24 hours after it came out.
Wow.
I was not expecting that. Um,
Wow. Yeah, that
that's very
one.
surprising.
I agree. I mean, because you think about things like Ahsoka and The
Mhm.
Mandalorian, and people,
The Book
especially
of Boba
after the
Fett.
right, and especially after the first season of The Mandalorian, with the Book of Boba Fett and the second season of Mandalorian, everyone knew all about the show and loved it. And so yeah, so that's very encouraging for this show as far as we know that the viewership is in very good hands if that's the case, which obviously it is.
What do you think it is that drove that?
Ah, that's a great question. I think a lot of it just has to do with the fact that it's just new Star Wars, and I do think that some of it has to do with the fact also that of who's in it. We've got Amanda Stenberg and we've got is it Jae Young June? I can't remember exactly how to pronounce his name from Squid Game.
Mhm. Right.
But he's very popular as well. And so I think that's part of it, and just the freshness of the story, perhaps. But what do you think? What do you attribute it to?
I think there's definitely something to that. I also think it is a story that maybe is holds a certain amount of intrigue because there's so little known about it by so many people. When it comes down to it, again, we knew about Boba Fett before we got the book of Boba Fett. We knew something about Mandalorians before we got that, and they also had an entire panel devoted to the Mandalorian at Celebration, where lots of stuff came out about it before it ever made it to Disney Plus. The Mandalorian was the premiere release when Disney Plus came out.
Mhm.
Comparatively speaking, although this has gotten some attention at Celebration, it hasn't had its own panel, and it hasn't had the lion's share of publicity. And that trailer is really gripping when it comes
Mhm.
down to it, with the amount of Jedi and lightsaber action and, like you said, the fighting and stuff like that. So, not to mention, it's not really long either. The whole thing is a minute and a half.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things that's easy to rack up views for. I mean, I think I watched it once, went on Discord to say something about it, and then came back like later in the day and watched it 3 or 4 times real quick,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
then watched it a couple times before you and I recorded uh,
Uh-huh.
our news episode about it. So there's a number of factors, but still, I was not expecting it to break records the way it did.
That's very encouraging, though, for
Yeah,
the show itself.
indeed. Okay, so again, June 4th. Can't wait. Let's talk about some books. And we are expecting the release of The Living Force, which is written by John Jackson Miller, on April 9th. This is a story about the Jedi Council and will also feature Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. And we have a new excerpt that came out featuring Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon traveling on a dingy transport that gets hijacked by some gang. The hijackers can't decide who they're working for. Before things get too far, Qui-Gon decides to intervene, and we don't really get the resolution to that scene there. But anyways, we get a tease of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. Did you get a chance to read the excerpt? And if so, what'd you think?
I did, and yes, I mean, it's great to see Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon in action again together, and just the banter that they have back and forth, and the adventures that they get to go on, and just, the "Hello there" from Obi-Wan in the excerpt was fantastic. Great nod from John Jackson Miller there. So yeah, this is gonna be a fun one. But what about you? What'd you think?
Yeah, I liked it. I'm a sucker for Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan
Oh,
when it comes
yeah.
down to it, and I keep saying I want to see more of that relationship. But we've gotten some of it in books and things like that, but I would like to see more on the screen and stuff there. I was kind of chuckling over this notion that the way that Padawans are trained and brought up to be knights, that is kind of detrimental to their social skills. So Qui-Gon is encouraging Obi-Wan to mingle while they're on this ship and
Oh,
traveling.
yeah.
And it's the reason why they took this transport to this backwater world, because it will give him an opportunity to kind of like chat with the common folk. When it's all said and done, they already helped out a family that was low on food rations by giving them their own, and so they're going to miss
Mhm.
breakfast the next day. And then Obi-Wan goes up to unknowingly to one of these gangsters who's sitting there and tries to strike up a conversation. It doesn't work. But so there's not a whole lot to glean from this excerpt other than to give you a taste of the Qui-Gon Obi-Wan dynamic. But it's fun. I'm very much looking forward to this book.
Mhm, me too.
Okay. So we got a couple of other spare stories. The first of which is that those of you who had an opportunity to partake in the Halcyon experience on the Galactic Star Cruiser of Walt Disney World before it shuttered its doors, who might be missing it, good news. You can get a taste of that at Galaxy's Edge, because as part of Seasons of the Force, drinks from the Starlight Lounge will be served at Oga's Cantina, at least some of them. So get a chance to check out this menu of drinks that they're going to have at Oga's for a limited time.
Oh my gosh, so cool, so cool, and it makes me just wanna go even more.
Uh-huh.
But I have to say, I can understand why they're doing this, because they have all the drinkware and barware and stuff left over from the Halcyon once it closed. But I was thinking to myself, "Gosh, this is so awesome, I wanna go." But then I thought, what'd be really cool is if they would just package these up into gift boxes with recipe cards, and you could buy them on Shop Disney.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yes, these drinks look fantastic, and there's both alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks as well. So I know we're going to run these down.
Yeah, well, rather than going through all of them here, I was going to ask if there was one that particularly caught your attention.
Well, they're all beautiful. I love the Chandrillon Werb glass. And this is the one that has the El Mayor Añejo Tequila Aperol Aperitivo Liqueur Peach Puree Peach Syrup Lime Juice served with a dropper of spicy lava syrup in a souvenir wine glass. So, because I know the wine glasses were always kind of teased about how they looked, but I just think they're beautiful. They're just all of these are beautiful. I am so enamored with any kind of culinary beautification of food and drink that happens on, cruise ships and resorts and that type of thing. It's truly an art and a science to mix all of these types of things together. But what was your favorite one that you liked?
Well, here's what I'm confused, because what you just read was the Chandrillon Orb Blast, and it's the exact same recipe as the Fiery Mustafarian, which is the El Mayor Añejo Tequila Aperol Aperitivo Liqueur Peachtree Puree Peach Syrup and Lime Juice. It's served with a dropper of spicy lava syrup. So I'm guessing it's just the same drink, except for with the Orb
The
glass.
way it's presented.
Well, you're getting the glass, the souvenir glass, if you order it the
Right.
other way.
Mhm.
I like a good tequila drink when it comes down to it. I'm a big fan of margaritas and such. So that one, yes, that one stood out to me, because I'm also looking at the Silver Sea Martini and then the Chandrillon Chalice, which are, again, essentially the same thing. Only one, I guess, has the glass, souvenir glass that comes with it there.
Mhm.
So it'd be fun. I'm not one for so much for collecting the souvenir glasses, because they end up in a drawer and I never use them.
Mhm.
But I got a chance to go to Oga's Cantina and have a drink there, and I thought that was the Takadana Quencher, which I thought was really good. And I've had an opportunity to be on the Disney Wish and go to the Hyperspace Lounge there, and I enjoyed some of the beverages there. And it's not so much that about the presentation is fun, but it is just kind of getting the unique drinks that makes it fun, and in the environment that you're in. So
Oh,
I'm with
yeah.
you. I mean, it's unfortunately it's just for a limited time, April 5th to June 2nd, and I cannot work out a visit there in that time period. It'd be fun, but I'm not doing it. I'm not going through the airfare and getting a hotel just so I can go try the drinks
Exactly.
from the Starlight Lounge at Oga's Cantina. If I had a trip that I was already scheduled for, then oh yeah, this would be cool. This would be a nice bonus. But it is what it is. I got other plans for this time. So, but again, I think this would be cool and appealing to those that did get a chance to do the Galactic Star Cruiser and might be a little homesick for it, since they're not going to get to do it again.
Yeah, and like I said, this would be a great opportunity to box these up and
Yeah.
even sell as a like a May the 4th kind of a thing, but for those
Yeah.
that cannot go to the parks.
Yeah,
Oh.
or you know what? Give
Mhm.
us the recipe book for the Starlight Lounge, the
Yes.
cocktail, and because
Yeah.
I could see Disney not being interested in shipping the alcohol, because they
Oh,
probably don't.
no, yeah, I'm just meaning the glass with the recipe
Okay,
card.
okay, that makes more
Yeah,
sense. Yes,
yeah, exactly.
yeah, but anyway, all right. Last story that we have for this week's news, and I saw this, Jay, and like your name was all over it. But Dave Filoni has designed another hockey jersey for Star Wars Night with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. He's done this, I think, every year since 2016.
Mhm.
Their Star Wars Night was March 23rd, and the jerseys were just awesome this year. They're always cool, but they were Ahsoka themed. It was a blue, navy, royal blue, some blend of something like that jersey with the white stripes on the sleeve that were similar to uh, Ahsoka's head tail markings. And then the logo on the chest was a side profile of Ahsoka, more akin to what we saw in the Ahsoka series than we did in the Clone Wars.
Mhm.
Um, Two white stripes across the bottom with Star Wars and the Star Wars font in orange between them. Gorgeous jersey. What'd you think?
Yes, oh my gosh, yeah, the portrait, as you were saying, of Ahsoka almost looks like she's looking down at Grogu, kind of a thing, and
Uh-huh.
I was so upset because I could have gone to this game, and because
Oh
there
no.
yeah, I because I don't live that far away, and I totally would have been able to go, and I saw it literally the day after, and I was like, "Welp, guess I'm not going to that game." But no, the jerseys were absolutely phenomenal. And don't they auction off a couple of the jerseys or make them available somehow for purchase just that night? Or is it just for the hockey players themselves? Because I was thinking at one time they were somehow available very limitedly to the people that went. Is that am I making that up in my brain?
In the past, my memory is that they've auctioned off the jerseys for charity.
That's what it is. Auctioned them off. Okay.
But I'm looking at their website now, and I went to the shop, and the jerseys aren't available there. So I suspect if you got on the email list, you could probably find out about that if they haven't already auctioned them off. But yeah, I mean, I guess the challenge with just making, because I was like, this would be a gold mine, this jersey. This
Oh
is
yeah.
absolutely fantastic. But what kind of license did they get from
Mhm.
Lucasfilm and Disney to make these? Was it a limited license for the purpose of that Star Wars night? And so they, with the agreement that they weren't going to, make them available to the general public because, that's Disney's intellectual property at this point.
Right.
But so yeah, I don't know. That would have been, it'd been cool to be able to get something like that. Cause I think every year Dave comes up with something cool. There's been Mandalorian themed jerseys. There's been stormtrooper themed ones. He's come up with something really great every time.
Oh yeah, he really has. And I would imagine that there's got to be somebody out there that's got the whole collection. And how cool would that be?
Yeah. While I've been talking, I've been just scanning through the website to see if there was any indication what happened to those, but I haven't found anything yet. So
Ah,
yeah. Oh well, that's unfortunate. But I can't wait to see what he does next year.
me too. Always, always amazing.
Indeed. Okay, well then that'll do it for this week's Star Wars news. Thank you for joining us here on Podcast Stardust. And if you've enjoyed the episode and you haven't done so already, we'd greatly appreciate it if you consider subscribing to the show. And you'll get the Star Wars news from us each and every week, along with our review and discussion episodes, as we do put out 3 episodes each and every week. And we'd like to remind you that you can find our entire catalog of shows over on retrozep.com, which also happens to be the home of several other great podcasts, such as Enjoy Stuff, Doomcast, Animaniacast, Love, Death, and Robots Plus, and Dorklair, when it decides to put podcasts up. But they're mainly doing videos at this day and age.
Hmm.
As always, we greatly appreciate your 5-star ratings and reviews on whatever podcatcher it is that you do use to get your podcasts. And please consider sharing the show with your friends on social media. So, Jay, you want to remind everybody one more time what our social media contacts are and where else we can be found around the internet?
Absolutely. No April Fools here. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Podcast Stardust. And as Dennis was just mentioning, Apple Podcasts is a great place to catch us. And if you are currently listening to podcasts on Google Podcasts, after tomorrow, April 2nd, you will no longer be able to listen to podcasts in Google Podcasts. So make sure you export your subscriptions to a platform like our YouTube music channel. Or Spotify is 2 great places to do that in addition to Apple Podcasts. And we're also on the regular YouTube channel as well. So make sure you subscribe to both of those. And if you are up for some real time chatter, as Dennis was just mentioning, there's all kinds of wonderful geekery fun going on over on RetroZap. And in regards to that, we have a Discord room. So if you are wanting to get in on that real time chatter, just go to our show page and click on our community tab, and you are right where you need to go. And the link for that will also be in our show notes. As well as in our show notes is our TeePublic store link, where we have 7 different show logo designs available on all kinds of apparel and home goods. And if you do get something from there, make sure you snap a picture out in the wild and tag us so we can see what you got and share that out. And we are also working with Saber Masters. The Ultimate Lightsaber 2.0 is still on sale, 2 for $199. And these are some amazing lightsabers that you can get your hands on and do some amazing dueling. You can literally bang these things against a tree, and they are fantastic. So if you are up for some new lightsabers, $199 gets you those 2. And if you go to sabermasters.com, and the link is also in our show notes, when you check out, make sure that you put in the code Stardust. That way you'll get an extra $10 off of your order. And that also helps to support the show. So check out the link in our show notes for that as well. So happy April means happy Warp Trails month. So Dennis, fill us in.
Right. We are 3 days away from the return of Star Trek Discovery over on Paramount Plus. And with that marks the return of Warp Trails, which is the podcast devoted to Star Trek, hosted by myself and my wife, Beth. We've been covering all of the Star Trek series as they've been coming out since Paramount Plus has been releasing them. So that is Discovery, Picard, Lower Decks, and Strange New Worlds. It's an exclusive to the Retro Zap podcast feed. So if you want to catch the old episodes, the best way to do that is to head over to the Retro Zap website and look for the Warp Trails page. Be looking for our next episode probably in a week on that. Jay, what is the latest in the world of cosplay?
All right. Well, you can always catch me on my Instagram, which is at j.snipscosplay. And right now, J Snips is up to a lot of things in April. So I will be at Fan Expo Cleveland here in just a couple weeks. I will also be in Worcester, Ohio on the 21st of April, and backing up a day on April 20th, I will also be in Hartville, Ohio. So you can check out my Instagram feed and stories for all the latest. And I'm hoping to bust out that Mandalorian here within the next couple weeks as well. So it'll be con crunch time for me for sure, but I am determined to get that done. So check out all the fun on j.snips cosplay.
Okay, upcoming on the show this Wednesday, we're getting back into the High Republic with a look at Defy the Storm, which is the latest young adult novel from Justine Ireland and Tessa Gratton. And then Friday, we'll be covering this week's episodes, I believe there's 2, of The Bad Batch. So with that, thanks for listening to episode 710 of Podcast Stardust, everyone. Have a great week. And until next time, may the Force be with you.